Hello, everyone. Hello. I hope that you guys, I'm messing around my volume real quick. All right. So I'm hoping that you guys are having an amazing Saturday. I'm RK and I'm with Sacred Para. And we're having our live a little bit early on account that today is a very special day. Today is our second son's birthday. And actually, one of my previous lives that I actually did on one of my children's birthday as well. And that was a very special day as well. So I don't always announce whenever it's my children's birthday, just because it's my babies, it's my babies, and so I just kind of keep that within our family. But we have a lot of June birthdays. Hello, Purple Counselor, how are you doing today? Thank you for joining. We have a lot of June birthdays, and so June is always a very just busy month for us in terms of birthday presents, birthday cakes, just getting things organized and shift around with our schedules. I mean, my birthday's in June even. So it's a lot going on. So I decided to schedule this one early. I talked to Birthday Boy, was like, is it okay if we have a live? And you just want to kind of consult with your kids. I'm doing good. Just explaining why we're doing live a little early today, on account that is our second oldest birthday. So I want to make sure that I get my live in and then, be able to have our festivities go on. So without further ado, we're going to talk today about storyline development. We are going to talk about character-driven storyline versus plot-driven storylines. And got a special surprise because I got some goodies and I want to be able to, share those with you guys. I had someone write me just recently in regards to the reel that I showed where Nisha K, such a beautiful sis, gave me a box, and I had, presented the reel, and someone said, hey, stop teasing. So I'm going ahead and give you guys a little bit of what I've been given and just show you guys the special treats that my special friends have given to me that are family. So let's get into our live today. My girls are over here saying hi. My mini Sheeta over here. And unfortunately, I gotta go back to my storyline and remember her name. You just have some dolls that are there and they're so beautiful. I really have not spent as much time with her to develop her name in my mind, which isn't that great. I know, but she's so beautiful. I'm gonna give you a real quick backdrop or backstory about this doll. This one right here was actually my first oldest. This was her doll. This was the doll head. And she was kind of mistreating the doll. She really just didn't get into her too much. And I told her, I was like, hey, if I find your doll a body, I think I said, if I can get a doll, a body for that doll, can I have that doll? And then I'll give you one of my dolls. And so that's what we did. I gave her one of my dolls. I had that head for a long time, found a body for it. And I'm excited because, it's a tender story. It's a sentimental story. It comes from my daughter. So I really do. I like that doll. Now, let's talk about character-driven storylines. As some of you guys know, I went to Spalding University for my MFA in writing and teaching. Met my husband during that time. Who wasn't my husband at the time, but just a very, very special and unique and handsome guy. And so we were courting, and then we got engaged actually a month later. Got married 5 months later, got pregnant within a month, and boom, here comes the start of our family. So I didn't get a chance to really complete my MFA. Stayed in contact with my mentor. In fact, you can go back to one of my other lives and you'll see me talking to Charlie Schulman, who was my mentor at the MFA program. And during that time of being at the MFA program, I actually was just writing. We were turning in our papers at due times because they want you to start getting ready to have a publisher and all that stuff, sitting in your pages. So it was to get you prepared for those things, which, now I do write and I do publish. But it was to get you prepped for those things. Yet the whole time, it was also this mindset that you already understand what characters are and plots and setting. And I believe, just being young at the time, I didn't ask a lot of questions. I just wrote and I listened to what my story wanted me to put down, and I typed it and, sent it in, and mentor looked at it and brought it back, and then I, revised it and corrected this and that. And I didn't really think about the whole format of what I was doing. So now years later, I look back and I'm like hearing this word character driven, and I was like, I don't like assuming. I like to study. So I watch a lot of TCM, and that's really where I hear it the most. I'm a black and white fan. Love me some black and white cinema. Hi, Coach Play. As you know, that's my handsome husband. And he is a fitness coach, personal trainer, and nutritionist. Any inquiries that you have about how to be able to stay on task with your nutrition, even if you live out of town, if you have some questions and you want to be able to connect, subscribe to his page, follow him, connect with him, DM him, only for fitness and only for nutrition, and he'll be able to reach out to you and give you some advice. And of course, yes, this is a business, so you are going to have to pay, but he is wonderful. I've been watching myself be able to, lose weight and lose those inches and, hitting different goals, and it's been amazing. So just putting that out there. Going back to what we were talking about, though, when I watch TCM, I hear character driven a whole lot, and I was like, what is this character driven? And I've heard it a little bit in dialogue with other, writing circles, but really in recent time was just like, let me look this up, because if I have a question about it, I'm sure someone else does. So today we're going to talk about what is the difference between character driven storylines versus plot driven storylines. And as you know, I have notes. Oh yeah, I have notes. I like to study this stuff. I like to come back, give you the information as I also, have learned it and received it. So character-driven storylines, it really came out, the origins of it really came out in the 1970s. And it really refers to a book, a play, film, etc., or its narrative. And it's chiefly concerned with developing through the depiction of the personalities of one or more characters. So initially, I kind of felt that everything that we write, play-wise, and with our storylines, thank you, King Emperor, with everything that we do, we're doing character-driven. But then when I really analyzed this and of course researched it and observed it and really dissected it, I was like, oh, there is a huge difference. So I want to bring that to you, because you're reading different storylines in our Barbie community, and you're probably thinking, is that Barbie? Is this a character driven storyline? Is this plot driven? So I went to www.dorranspublishing.com, and it stated that plots are character driven, and they are literary fiction. They're referred to as literary fiction, and it's due to the fact that they feature characters that possess multiple layers, and they're exposed more as your story develops. So the more that the story comes out, right, the more that we're able to get to know the characters. And so they had some examples of different writing styles. Character-driven writing style is really focused on your characters and then like the internal changes that your character goes through. And this has to do with more about your character than it does about the events that take place or the situations that take place. When we talk about plot-driven storylines, and we're really looking at what's actually happening and the external changes that's happening around your characters in the story. So the best way that I can probably give this to you is, let's look at the movie Red. Because a lot of your action movies, your mystery movies, your sci-fi movies are going to be more plot driven. So you're kind of on this roller coaster with the characters, but you don't really get so much insight into the character intimately. Now, in the movie Red, which stars Bruce Willis, we get a little bit more insight about Bruce Willis because he's the protagonist. So we find out his history, his combat history, and we get more, of course, if you've seen the movie Red. If you haven't, this is a little bit of a plot spoiler, but we get more of the history as the story goes. We're like, oh, okay, he used to do this, and oh, okay, he's in love with this girl, and oh, okay. So you're finding out the connections that he has with different characters, and you find out more insight about who he is. Like I said, he's the protagonist. The other characters we know very little about. But what we're seeing is they are influenced by the situations that's happening around them. Something explodes, they go to it. This person gets locked up. They have to, resolve the issue. So each time something happens, it influences the characters. Not so much of the characters influencing the situation. So when we look at character-driven storylines, I'll give you an example of one. I don't really know if everyone has seen this movie, but I just saw it, and it was amazing. I am a complete Bette Davis fan. Have I seen all of Bette Davis movies? Of course not. She starred in too many of them, and I was born after she was already, in Hollywood. And so, no, I haven't seen all her movies, but anytime whenever I catch her movies, especially if it's something I haven't seen, it is a treat. So I just saw the movie Now Voyager. It is on demand if anyone has on demand, so you can always watch it. It's called Now, Voyager. I do believe that they should have did a different title. I understand why, when I look at the movie, I, really, analyze the plot of it and who she was as a character and just her story within itself. I'm like, okay, I get it. But even if they would have just titled it Now We Have the Moon, why, or no. I think her last line was like, why look at the moon when we have the stars? I mean, like, you could have ended it, you could have used that ending part as the title, We Have the Stars. I think that would have spoke volumes as a title. That's me. Okay, so I wasn't really big on the title. But when we talk about character driven, that movie truly depicts character-driven storyline because you see her character, Charlotte, and yes, if you're a Bette Davis fan, Charlotte is a name that she had in another movie as well. My kids, when they saw it, they were like, did she have another character that she played named Charlotte? Yeah, we got them in black and white movies because it's the best way, and I'm going to do an episode about that in the future, in the near future, about my love for black and white movies and the association of that with writing. But black and white movies is just a great basis of writing. It has such strong fundamentals that if you write, regardless if you write for our Instagram or you're a writer outside of it, you're a columnist, you're a journalist, black and white movies give you such a strong foundation. Just very, very, detailed writing. So nonetheless, when we go back to this movie and we talk about the character Charlotte, I am going to give a little bit of a spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. I'm sorry. So you see Charlotte, and she is literally this like homey character, just kind of your old maid type, thick glasses, her hair is all pent up, she walks slow, she has her dress way down, to her ankles, she doesn't have a lot of vibrancy. You just picture her as having, 7 different cats, and come to find out and I say that because, the atypical, old maid kind of theory. She's not married, no children. And this doesn't say anything against anyone else who's in that position. I'm just saying this was the character on the screen. And they wanted you to really see her in this, character A position. So she's also controlled by her mother. And she's getting tired of being controlled by her mother, and she wants to break free. And she's, getting angry. And her mother says, she has issues. She needs to go to the institution. And literally has a doctor come. And the doctor, he comes to the house because the mother's filthy rich. She has a mansion. The doctor comes to the house, and he analyzes her, and he's like, it's really not that she has a problem as much as it is that it's you. And the mother was, of course, offended. What do you mean? And he says, I'll take her to the institution, but I don't really think that she has a problem. She just needs to be able to branch out and have independence. So he takes her to their mental institution, which is more like a ranch, and just allows her to be able to make some choices about herself, tells her basically do the opposite of what you usually do, so that you can be able to gain independence. So we see her in the institution, which now becomes like she transcends to character B. This is still the same character, but we're seeing her morph into another side of herself. She does well. We see her make these changes, and then she's ready to go visit back home, and she looks totally different. You have to see the movie, Now Voyager. She looks totally different, but you can tell that she's, wanting to have a greater sense of self, but yet she's still kind of being tugged by who she was as character A. But this is character C that's developing. She meets a man, and he is married, but they strike up, really good friendship, and of course she's wanting more, and he wants more, but he says, I have to stay married because I will lose custody of my children. So we see her get, she gains this confidence because this is really the first time she's had a guy look at her and admire her and encourage her, and he even gives her a gift, and she's just, over the moon with it. So we see her become character D, still the same character, but she's morphing. She goes back home. Her mother's trying to control her. She's like, I don't like what you have on. Put your glasses back on. I have a new dress for you. She's like, that dress won't even fit me. I've lost weight. She's like, well, I found out what your dress size is, and I had them make, order you dress in the size that you are right now. Put that back on. And she literally has to stand up to her mom and be like, no, I like who I'm becoming. And we see her now morph into character E, right? A, B, C, D, E. So from there, she goes through all these different changes. Her mother is not able to really handle the new woman that she's become. There's some rejection. And then there's some remorse. Something very tragic happens to where now she's remorseful, the main character, Charlotte. And she goes back to the mental institute, which now is like I said, she's going through all these different morphs. And then she meets a little girl who reminds her of herself. And then she says, I want to be there for you. And she becomes a mentor. It goes all the way to towards the end of it, we see her become an adoptive mother. And she's owning herself. And she's on the board. And she's now going to be making changes to the mental institute by pouring money into it and rebuilding it, and she's completely different, and she's even now has this mindset like, I don't need a man. As long as I have love, I'm able to give love, I am feeling well. And this was the final character that we rest with, at least towards the end of the movie, but still understanding too that she still is allowing herself room to grow, because she says to the man, she's like, I'm happy and I'm satisfied right where I am. But in the same hand, we'll see where things go. But I don't need a man to be happy. I don't need this, because I'm now in a position of giving love and receiving love from this little girl, who I never experienced this before. So I say this because that storyline was completely character driven. We are walking with the character, and we are seeing her go from a larva stage, a pupa stage, a caterpillar stage, to being in the oh goodness, it's not a cocoon, it's a cocoon for the moth, a chrysalis, and then her breaking free of it and becoming a butterfly, and we're flying with her. And that made that storyline so epic because it was so intimate. We get to know our protagonist on an intimate level. So for those of you who have storylines that you do in Instagram, or you enjoy reading storylines, I do both. Of course, I write storylines, and then I also enjoy reading storylines. They are my soap operas. So I enjoy it. And I say keep doing what you're doing. But if any of you guys have a question such as, is this plot driven? Is this character driven? The main question to ask oneself is, how close do I feel to the character? How well do I know the character? Do I know what their favorite color is? Have I seen them change? And a lot of times with your character-driven storylines, you will see the character change. An example that was given in the reading, it's still dealing with that same website of www.dorranspublishing.com, and I'll put that in the caption. But they gave an example of 101 Dalmatians with Cruella. So Cruella de Vil, we know her as the villain, someone who do whatever it takes to get those Dalmatian pups and make them into a fur coat, right? One of the things that we come to see is that her character was kind of stagnant. It was very like we expected. We came to expect what she was going to do next because she was the villain. We didn't really have an intimate level of relationship with her. Like, we don't really know why she was like that. A lot of times in your character driven storylines, you get that backstory. When I just gave you the example with Charlotte from the movie Now Voyager, we get a backstory. We saw how she was from the very beginning. Now, why her mother treated her like that, I don't know. We didn't get that portion of why her mother was so enmeshed with her. But oftentimes in enmeshed relationships, even the child, the offspring, doesn't know why mommy is so enmeshed with me. So if that child is able to get insight as to why there is enmeshment, that's a bonus. But oftentimes there isn't really an answer as to why there's an enmeshment or codependency. So we don't get that part of the backstory, but we do get a chance to see where her origins were. And then when Charlotte relates to the little girl, she says to her, I see myself in you. So by seeing the little girl, it let us know how she was growing up and what she experienced. So although they didn't have any flashbacks, we still get that intimate relationship with her to find out how things were for her in the very beginning. Using Cruella de Vil as an example from what the website had, we don't get an understanding. We have no clue why Cruella de Vil wants to kill these innocent puppies and make them into fashion. Why? We have no clue. A lot of times in your character-driven plot lines, you do, I should say storylines, you do get that background, that understanding of why the characters behave like they do. Now, for Cruella de Vil to be a character-driven storyline, we would have to see her transform. For her to literally go from this villainous, spitfire, evil woman to having something happen, more than likely tragic, something happened to her to where she says, I don't want to live like this anymore. I want to be different. And instead of me trying to kill puppies, I want to go ahead and have a foundation just for puppies who are orphaned. And I'm going to make sure that I pet each and every puppy that comes in so that they can have my love all on them. That right there would be us seeing her transform and transcend. And that would make it character driven, because we would get somewhere in there, either through flashbacks, something of that nature, of an origin of why she's like she is, that backstory. Then we would, of course, see how she grew up to be, which was villainous. And then we see a tragedy take place and we see her transformation. And maybe it may not even be a tragedy. Maybe it would be something good, but something took place that would change her. And then she becomes a whole new person with a whole different outlook. And of course, that would change the dynamic of the story. So the internal change of the character is an example of character-driven writing. So if you're interested in doing character-driven writing, one of the key things is being able to see an internal change take place in the character. Not just on the outside. Like I said, an example with the movie Red. A lot of what happens is on the outside. You can always get storylines that are more enmeshed, if we want to go back to that word, where it is character-driven and plot-driven. An example would be, you got it, Harry Potter. Harry Potter is definitely one that is character driven as well as plot driven, because we do get more insight and backstory of who Harry Potter is, the things that he's gone through in his life, and then with each and every one of the movies and books, of course, because the books came out first, more is exposed about him as a character and what he survived through and who his parents were, and more is exposed about his friends and who they are as individuals, which makes that very much character driven. But in the same hand, it is a sci-fi, and not just on the basis of being a sci-fi, but this particular sci-fi is extremely action-packed. There's a lot happening on the external that influences what the characters do next. So that right there is an example of something that is an enmeshed storyline. We have character driven as well as plot driven at the same time. I don't want anyone to walk away from this particular conversation and feel that they have to choose to be one. You can be more than one. You can be plot driven, you can be character driven, and you can even have a book or a storyline that you're writing on with your dolls or outside of your dolls. And that particular storyline happens to have character driven and plot driven storylines. And that is still acceptable. So I don't want anyone to feel like I have to choose which one I am. This is just to give you more insight as to the differences of a character-driven a character-driven storyline and a plot-driven storyline. Plot-driven storylines place a large emphasis on the actual plot itself. Factors such as plot twists, action, and external conflict are what make up the focus of this style of writing. In most cases, the goals of the story are more external in what they are focused on in the development of that particular situation. And so I just want to kind of leave you guys with some examples of what plot-driven storyline is and what character-driven storyline is. Looking at, I have some examples of some movies on here, and then I want to give you guys some tips. So, plot-driven storylines would be such as Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park was more of a plot-driven storyline because we do not get any kind of backstory for the most part of any of the doctors involved. We just know that the scientist, who's the older guy, extracted the genetic coding of the dinosaurs and mixed it in with frogs, and boom, came out with this park. And he wanted to get these doctors to approve it. I should say scientists to approve it, to say that he was on the right track. And of course, all kinds of chaos, happened, and his grandchildren were there. And I'm dealing with the original Jurassic Park. But we don't really get a chance to know anyone intimately. We don't know any backstories. We don't get a chance to see really anyone change. Everyone was pretty much the same people that they were from the very beginning. If anyone changed, it'd probably be the grandchildren, because they were almost vicious. Well, they were pretty much viciously attacked by the T-Rex and almost pooped themselves throughout that storyline. So, we're just saying about that movie. So, if anyone had any changes, it would definitely have been the grandchildren. Because they went in there like, yay, they left frightened, like ready to get off that island. And I'm not saying that the other scientists didn't have any changes. I'm sure that they did. Even, when they talk, oh, my earring came off. Even when they talk at the end, they were like, we will not be supporting this park. And he's like, I don't blame you. I'm sorry, the earring dropped. But he's like, oh, I don't blame you, because he realized like how much of a danger having these dinosaurs were. And of course, since that time, we've had about 5 more Jurassic Parks, but we do not actually get a chance to learn these characters on an intimate basis. We don't really see them transform the way that I had mentioned to you with Charlotte from Now Voyager. Now I'm going to throw out another Bette Davis movie, which some of you may know. What's the Matter with Baby Jane? Is that the name of the movie? I should know it. I so should know it. What's the Matter with Baby Jane? I think that's the title. But we get a backstory of Baby Jane have the movie too, or so should know it. But we get the backstory of Baby Jane and why she's like she is, and the difference between her stardom and her sister's stardom. And then when we see who they are now as old ladies, and they're, having all these conflicts, and one's locking the other one up and viciously beating up her sister, which kind of find out when I watched the behind the scenes, I found out that fight was kind of true, that Betty Davis did hit and kick Joan Crawford a little bit harder than what she should have. So if you haven't seen that movie, definitely check it out. What's the Matter with Baby Jane? I think that's the title. I'll find out and put it on here. But that's a very good movie, and that movie has to do with character-driven storyline versus a Jurassic Park, because we do find out more about Baby Jane. We even find out about her sister and who her sister was and the jealousy that was there. I even noticed, for real, for the most part, Betty Davis plays in a lot of character-driven storylines where you get a chance to really know and identify with the character. I think that's one of the reasons why I enjoy her. And even with my own storylines, I find myself writing plays or plays that I've done, and I go back and I review it. I'm like, wow, I think I enjoy characters that change, that transcend, that transform, that go through metamorphosis, because I feel like that's what we do as humans. We evolve, we change. Like, you may have a certain stance at one point of your life, and then you have something happen that makes you grow up, and you look at life differently, and so you become another you. You're still you, but you change. So that's me. I enjoy character-driven storylines. Do I like plot-driven storylines? Heck yeah. I like them both. So if you are interested, I'm just going to give you a little tip on how to write character-driven storylines, if that's something that you're interested in, and how to write plot-driven storylines. I'm going to show you guys some of my beautiful gifts that my beautiful IG family has given on to me, and then we'll be wrapping up. How do you add a character's voice without buying another doll? Such a good question. That comes from the Purple Consular. So let's address that. How do you add a character's voice without buying another doll? If you have any advice, definitely write it down at the in the comments, and then I'll also share that as well. One of the things that I believe helps. So let me make sure that I get this correct. So you're saying with your sing dolls, you want to be able to add in another voice. So are you wanting to have your doll that you already have? Are you wanting to show them evolve? Or are you wanting to use a voice of a doll, but you just never do see that doll? Because you can always do that too. We call that, using the invisible character. So even in my own storyline, I have a young man named Kenny, and you never see him, and that's Audrey's son. You hear her talk about Kenny. You even hear, Kenny. Okay, the invisible voice. Yes, you even hear Kenny's voice, when he comes in town. And she's like, girl, and she was on the phone with Gloria, and she was like, girl, I gotta get off the phone because he's calling me. You never do see Kenny. Kenny's just he's an invisible character. And I got that concept from black and white movies, because a lot of times in your black and white movies, budgets, especially like early on, budgets were tight. So you may have a character that you never ever see. I'll give you one of my favorite movies. This is like my all-time favorite movie. Laurence Olivier stars in it. Rebecca. And it's an Alfred Hitchcock directed movie. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It is available on YouTube and it's free. Rebecca is such a good movie. Throughout the entire movie, and it's a book first, but in the book and in the movie, which is titled Rebecca, you never once meet Rebecca. Not one stinking time. You don't even see a picture of Rebecca. But the whole movie, the whole book, is about Rebecca. I had to read it. I had to read it in school. But I will admit, I didn't read it. I watched the movie. I'd already watched the movie like so many times. Because it was my favorite movie. So by the time it was required in school, I was like, all right, let's go with the movie. Of course, the book is going to have more details, and I found it out because my teacher wrote like a little note on the side and read like, "I'm surprised you didn't mention this," and I was like, "I didn't read it." I watched Alfred Hitchcock. But let's go back to the movie. You never ever once see Rebecca. Laurence Olivier's character, Mr. De Winter, he talks about Rebecca. In fact, his whole life is kind of like built off of the grief of her death and how she died. And there's all this like mystery about how she died. The maid, who you assume may be like her mother. It's just like all these like hints that Mrs. Dandridge Danny may actually be her mother. She talks about her, you don't see her. The cousin, he talks about her, you don't see her. She's a huge character in the whole story. Never ever see her. So I got that concept from there. And of course, reading other people's beautiful pieces on here with their storylines, I've seen other people as well use the invisible character where you never see the doll. You just hear the voice. And they're talked about, but they're not seen. So that I hope does help you. If anyone else has any advice, definitely put it on here. Now, if you're wanting to use, I know you did say the latter was the one that you were interested in. So I hope that helps. Let me know. One of the other things that you can do if you already have a doll, but you kind of say, I don't really like where your character is. Like, I want you to have, or I don't know if I want to say character, but your persona. I want you to have a different kind of persona. You're really, really nice, but maybe I want you to be a little bit more, like a little bit more of a more headstrong. So I don't use a bad word. More headstrong. You can do that. You can do that. I'll give you an awesome movie that I really do like. A Long Kiss Goodnight, starring Gina Davis and Samuel L. Jackson. Why do I use that movie? Because when we are introduced to Gina Davis in The Long Kiss Goodnight, she is a very nice, stay-at-home mom, right? And, just very much into the festivities. She's going to be, she's at the Christmas parade, and she's going to be Santa Claus's wife. She's married, she has a kid, and just the home baker, and you don't see anything else wrong with her. She seems very one-dimensional. Just honestly, she seemed very one-dimensional. As the story goes, and it doesn't take that long, she's driving this old man home after the Christmas party. He tries to get fresh with her and reach over, and she was like, stop, and deer comes over, and when the deer comes over, she veers off. She still hit the deer. They had the car accident. I can't remember what happened to the old man, but I think he lived, but I can't remember. But the deer, when she comes to, because she got knocked out, and so she's bleeding, she took the deer by the antlers. I know I'm doing a plot spoiler. I'm sorry, but she, just like twisted the neck. Don't ask me why I smile. I only smile, and it's not because I have a morbid sense of humor. It's just because I like the movie. I like it because they did so well making this character-driven and plot-driven. So if we were talking about being able to hear a different voice out of a character that already exists, one of the things that they did was that because of that accident, you start seeing different sides of her come out that she didn't know was there. So she goes from being very flat and one-dimensional to now we're seeing the layers. Like she caught, I can't remember if it was like a knife or something, and then she's like chopping up food real quick, and she's like, oh my God, I was a chef. Come to find out, she had a coma at one time. So she didn't know about her own backstory. As we watch the movie, and more comes out, and some people from the past come after her, and you see her just go into like Rambo mode, which yes, that's a 1980s movie. You start seeing her come out, and her husband's just like, what the hell? Because he didn't know. He didn't know this side existed. She was flat and one-dimensional. Now we're seeing layers be built to the point where like mid of the movie, homegirl has cut her hair, she's got blonde hair, and we find out that she was a spy. What? Gave her a whole new voice. Like she's drinking tequila And even Samuel L. Jackson's character, which you have to watch the movie to find out why he's in there, but he's like, what's going on? He's like, at first you were just like, oh, diddly dang, I burnt the cupcakes, and now you're cussing like a sailor and you're drinking tequila? What? I love that movie. I do. So you see a whole new voice come out of the same actor, out of the same character, but it's a whole new voice. So if you're looking for how do I make my character have a different voice but still use the same doll, that movie would be a very good example. A Long Kiss Goodnight. And like I said, on the other hand, if you're just curious, like, how do I add in a doll without having to buy another doll, use the invisible doll concept. There's a lot of different accounts on our Dollstagram that use that effect. You'll hear a voice, you never see the doll, especially if it's for a small role. Like, why get a whole nother doll for a little tiny minor role? Use it. All right. Now, just giving you guys a few examples of how to write a character-driven story. 1, give your character a backstory. To fully understand a character, you have to be able to put them into context. So giving your characters developed backstory will help readers understand how they got where they are and why they're reacting in certain ways. And this information that I got right here comes from www.skillshare.com, and it was written by Laura Mueller. I want to make sure I give out that credit. So give your character a backstory. 2, make sure there's conflict. Just because a story is character driven doesn't mean that nothing of importance ever happens. Include a major conflict, but make sure to highlight the inner struggle that occurs as a result and not just the ups and downs of the situation. So you do want to address what your character's thinking, what your character's feeling. Some people will use, POV, the point of view of the character, and they'll talk about the internal thoughts, or they'll put like a little thought bubble up so that we as the audience can know as we read the storyline here on Dollstagram that their character is thinking. Of course, if you're writing a novel, a book, it's very easy to say that, Julia was thinking. That's very easy. It's a little bit harder when writing it in the captions of your post, what your character is thinking. So you can get very creative with it. You can literally say, Julia was thinking this. You put a thought bubble up. You put a POV, which I do see different accounts do, just saying that this is the point of view of their character as far as their internal thoughts. If you have a post where you put, like the little bubbles in the actual pictures, that's a fantastic way to be able to put the thought bubble right there. And then we automatically get a visual that the character's thinking. So, and I'm thinking of like so many accounts right now off the top of my head that use POV. I'm going to do a shout out because I feel like I have to. As far as the invisible character, let me talk about 2 accounts. MS Gal 1965, I believe. Shout out to you because she does the invisible character. Life in Dolldom does the invisible character. When we talk about being able to show the personal thoughts and struggles of characters, Ash Harbor Story does that. And then I want to say _doll_stories also does really good with showing the thought bubbles. And there's plenty of other ones, but those are just the ones off the top of my head if you want to check out those accounts and get some ideas. The story is the transformation which itself cannot take place without some sort of tension. Okay? Provide your character. The third point is to provide your character with a clear point of view. What does your character think about what's happening to them? Are they happy about it? Are they sad about it? Are they confused about it? Are they mad about it? Are they saying, why me? Or are they saying, yes, me? Just as important as providing your protagonist with an internal struggle is assuring that the reader can follow along with the character as they adapt and change, as opposed to just witnessing what is happening as an objective outsider. So put that insight in it. Make it personal. Respect your character's integrity. The phrase out of character really applies here. Don't have your character do something that's outside of their nature just as a way to move the story in a certain direction. It will remove the authenticity from the story and could even make you lose some of your readers, which is very, very true. I find that as a writer, As you guys know, I write. You can check my stuff out on Amazon. Of course, check out that book, Adult Play Therapy, is available on Amazon as well. But I do write, and my penman name, or I should say my pseudonym, there you go, is R.K. Lemons Weber. So definitely check out those books. It's available with plays, and there's poems and short stories. But one of the things that I have learned as I write is that it's very easy to come to a place in your writing to where you kind of feel like, can I just end this already? Either because you're close to the end of the chapter, you're close to the end of the book, or you're close to the end of ideas. You just don't have any idea of what's going to take place next, and you just want this book to get done because it's been a project that you've had for some time, and life is happening all around you, and you're ready to get it published and out of the way. But you have to stay true to your characters. And that's something that I've learned through experience, because there's been some stories that I have just went ahead and ended. Just quite honestly, I was like, forget it, F it. I'm about to put a period right here. And I put a period right there when I should have put a comma. And I should have put a semicolon. And I remember when I was in school, in undergrad, and I was taking a playwriting course, and we were having a discussion, kind of like a writer's guild, and reviewing each other's work and talking. And one of the things that was said to me during that time was, hey, why did you end it like that? I kind of felt that what was written about this character wasn't really true to who they were. You know, we followed this character all the way through. I cried in that class. I'm not going to lie to you. After that review, I went home and I cried because they were telling the truth. I knew that I had ended that story earlier than what I should have. I was just tired. I was tired of writing it. I was tired of, just being connected to those characters. I wanted it to end. So I ended it, and it was not authentic. So when they read it and they said, that seems so out of character for who this character started out as, and now that. And I didn't have any kind of like tension that took place. I just changed it up. It was just like, and this happened. Boom. So make sure that you stay true to your characters. If you're writing something and you get to a place like I did back then where you're just tired of it and you just kind of want it to end, maybe what you need to do is just step back. Step back. And this is why we talk about adult play therapy. Find something else to play. If you're done writing for a little bit, maybe you can crochet. Maybe you can knit. Maybe you can draw. Maybe you can paint. Maybe you can dance. Maybe you can listen to some music. Maybe you can play on the Xbox or the PlayStation. Find something else to entertain you. Maybe you could do some puzzles. Maybe you can play some chess. Maybe you should do some digital art. Find something else to put your creative energies in, and then when the time opens up again, you'll be more fresh in mind to finish out the story authentically. And I didn't have anyone telling me that at the time. So I'm sharing that with you guys through experience. Peel away from it. Put your creative energy somewhere else. Make some necklaces, make some beads, make some waistbands. I don't know. Or I should say waist beads. Do something. Make earrings. And then come back. Okay? Now we talk about plot driven. I'm going to give you guys just a few little tips if that's something that you are interested in doing. First off, outline your story in advance. You can definitely let the story take you where it wants to go, but make sure to flesh out the beginning, the middle, and end in advance. You don't have to have all the details, but have a good idea of what the beginning is, the middle is, and the end, so that you don't find yourself on this never-ending narrative without a clear pace or stopping point. You'll also want to plan out any big arcs and twists so that you can, just subtly work that in and work up to them instead of just tossing them in there. And one of the things that I learned when watching Ghostbusters Afterlife, when I talked about Ghostbusters before, I called it Resurrection, which resurrection is not a bad thing. I think I was just thinking about Resurrection Sunday a whole lot because it was like around that same time. But this was Ghostbusters Afterlife. So I had the name incorrect. But with the movie Afterlife, one of the things that the director had said, and this was the son of the first director, because the son and the father both worked on Afterlife together, which was awesome. Especially when you account for the fact of being that the dad, Iverson, I believe that's his name, he passed away this year or last year. So it was such a wonderful thing that they were able to work together prior to that. But the son had stated, knowing the end, if you know the end of the story, then you know your story. And I believe that that's key. He was like, you can know the beginning, but knowing the end is when you know that you have your story complete. So knowing your end, your beginning, your middle, and your end is really important if you have a plot-driven storyline. And I would say with Ghostbusters Afterlife, that was definitely plot-driven, but also, especially with this last one, character-driven. Because we got so much more insight about Egon and his family and who he was as an individual. So it was just beautifully made. It was beautifully made. All right. I'm about to go on a tangent about that movie. Second one, raise the stakes. A plot that amples along on any kill isn't a plot that's going to hook your audience. Use action, settings, and characters to move your story along. When I talked about the movie Red, one of the things that we saw with Red is that we had like Bruce Willis, we had the girl that, he picked up along the way that was a girlfriend. And then we see John Malkovich that enters in, and he himself was just like this really like, oh my gosh, like crazy wild card character. But if you did feel like you were getting stagnant, guess what they did? They added in another character, right? They had Bruce Willis get shot or something like that, and they were like, oh, well, you know where you got to go, right? You got to go to, this other person's house, Myra, I think her name is. You have to go there so that she can doctor you up. And he's like, oh, but what happens if she tries to kill me? He's like, that's the risk that you take. So they had to go over there to her house. Helen Mora, I think that's her name. So he had to go to her house in order to have her, help him out. So each time at different levels of the movie, you see new characters get tossed in, which furthermore adds to this concept of it being plot driven. So this helps to move your story along, including any directions that your readers just weren't even anticipating. The higher the stakes, the more engaged your readers are likely to be. Third, include a twist. Most great plot driven stories include a twist in the narrative. One twisty, turny, unexpected plot occurrence is pretty much a guaranteed way to keep your audience invested in your story and have them talking about it afterwards too. One of the things that we talk about in my generation growing up was the books Goosebumps. Yes, we loved us some R.L. Steins, right? And Fear Street. Why did we love those things? Because it wasn't about character, it was about plot. And that plot, with all the twists and turns, was enough to keep you reading to the next chapter, to the end of that chapter, to the beginning of the next chapter, to the end of that chapter, and you finish the whole book, and then you're too afraid to go to sleep at night because you don't know if something is actually going to, come from underneath your bed and grab your feet. So, yeah! Good movies and good books. R.L. Stein did excellent. But before the movies, we had the books. I remember I used to go to the library all the time just for Goosebumps and R.L. Steins and whatever else that, I was venturing off into. Like I wanted to study law. I go get law books. I wanted to study becoming a surgeon. So I was at the library a lot. I was a nerd and I loved it. But yeah, so when we talk about plot, think Goosebumps. Twists and turns, think Goosebumps. Think Fear Street. All right. And fourth, highlight your cause and effect. Plot-driven stories aren't just a series of events that's taking place one after another. There needs to be some causality linking them together, right? Some causality. This happened because that happened. I call it the domino effect. Not just this happened and then this happened. Let's show what happened next because of this. You can do it very subtly, but it's important that you make a difference about it, and it will make your narrative more realistic and more intriguing. Don't just have this happen and this happen and then this one happened. You really want to show the cause and effect. Like I was talking to my husband recently, and I was saying how I used to work at a wood veneer shop across the bridge from where we're at, and I was working there as a contract worker. This would be a real short little story. As a contract worker with I can't even think what you call it, like one of those staffing agencies, and my contract was coming to an end. They did an interview with me. They were like, hey, we want to keep you on. You're a really great worker. And I was like, cool. I enjoyed it there. I was able to, do my filing and all this other stuff. I was a receptionist. I worked in front of the house. And they said, we're going to bring you on, but we're going to give you less pay for the same work. And I was like, that's not possible. Like, how is it that I'm going to do the same work for less? And they were just like, yeah, we, budget wise, all this other stuff, but we really want you here and you should think about it. And I thought about it enough to go ahead and let my contract in. I told them it wasn't going to work for me. And I went back into teaching because teaching was something that, paid me more than what I did there. So that was a summer job that I had, and I was hoping to make it more permanent. End up going back into teaching, and it worked out for me though, because while I was teaching and preparing to go into grad school for my MFA program, because that would start in November, that September, life was a little bit hard, and the kids were really getting on my nerve. It's no offense to kids, but they were starting to get on my nerve. Just some of the things that was going on at work. It wasn't just the kids, but it was also, the different policies and dealing with the principal and dealing with other teachers, and it was just a lot, and dealing with, home life and family, and not like family like my own kids, but just family, right? And it was enough for me to go out and go get me a box of wine, and not like the box that you carry, but like a box full of like 9 bottles of wine. And as I was leaving out of the store, of the wine store, with my box of wine, I saw at the very end of the corner was one store, and they had a box of Black and Milds, and I was young, okay, so this was like a long time ago, and I stopped smoking, and I was just like, you know what, I'm about to relieve my stress. I'm gonna go get me a Black and Mild. So I put my wine up, I go in there, get me a Black and Mild. There's a lady in there, she's talking about poetry reading, and if you guys would like to come, I have these flyers. And usually I wouldn't do this, but this boldness arose in me, and I was like, I'm about to go into my MFA program for writing. Sure, I'm gonna do this. And I used to do poetry readings too, but I hadn't did it for a while before that. Long story short, I was like, hey, can I get one of those? Can anyone come? And she was like, yes. And she gives it to me with such gladness. And I take this flyer, and it's like a Thursday or something like that, a Wednesday or a Thursday. And I go home, and I'm just, pounding away with my bottles and stuff. And Saturday comes up, and I had all kinds of crazy stuff happen. I had like a phone that dropped on Friday night and all this other stuff. I had to go back and get like a whole new phone and some other disruptions that try to take place. Long story short, I leave out to go to the poetry reading. Just so happens to be a car behind me is my future husband, who saw me drive through a construction site area, and he was like, well, if her car got through, mine can too. And we met and we talked for 3 hours or 3.5 hours, and literally caught the last line of the poetry reading, but it was so worth it. Almost 15 years later and 10 kids later, it was the best domino effect that happened in my life. So one thing led to the next. By me not working at the wood veneer place caused me to have to, well, not really have to, but I made a decision to go back into teaching, dealing with the drama of teaching and family and just life itself. Caused me to go to the store to go get all the bottles of wine. Getting all the bottles of wine then caused me to say, you know what, let's top it off with even more of a release and get a Black and Mild. Going to get the Black and Mild then, encouraged me to go ahead and be bold enough, since I was going to the MFA program for writing. I felt bold enough and confident enough to ask for a flyer, and getting that flyer then, encouraged me to, stick to the schedule of that Saturday going to the actual reading. And if I hadn't did that, and if I hadn't had the holdups that I did, because that Saturday came with a lot of different holdups. Like I said, that Friday, I dropped my phone, had to wait in line, get a new phone, dealt with some other BS that took place prior to actually getting out the door, left, and had I not left at that time, had I left any earlier or any later, I wouldn't have met him. Not during that time. I would have met him probably some other time. So the domino effects. And you want to be able to show that in your writing. You want to show that with your storylines. What are the domino effects? Instead of just having boom, 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 this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. Show it where we as your reader can see the link. Oh, okay, well, this happened. Oh, well, I understand now why this happened, because this right here. Okay? So, I hope that helped. It was a little bit longer than what I had expected. I don't even know what time it is. I don't want to spend too much time. Like I said, it's my son's birthday. But I do want to show you guys some of my little treats that I got. Someone had recently asked me what was in that box. And if you guys find you have any more questions about character-driven versus plot-driven, DM me. All right, ask me questions. Caption, ask me in the comments from this caption of this post. You can write me and ask me. So this box came from Nisha K. And it is so wonderful. I wrapped it back up. That's what I like to do because my space is kind of limited. And I have, children and their stuff. And, it just helps me to keep my stuff separate. So I am going to show you guys the wonderful stuff that she gave to me. These beautiful rugs. And look, it even has the grip in the back. I love it. I'm really, really thankful. And I keep all my stuff whenever people give me stuff. And I like to keep it all together. And then even whenever I use it, I put it right back in. Whenever, like my husband got me this couch right here. And it's a couch, an ottoman, and a chair. And like a TV stand and another like side table. And I keep it in the box. Because I don't want anything to happen to it, so I bubble wrap it. You take care of the things that you enjoy. We always tell our kids, we're like, you take care of your stuff will take care of you. That's what we always say. You take care of your stuff will take care of you. Then instead of you having to buy new stuff or breaking sentimental stuff that you can't get anymore, you'll have it for years to come. You can probably even like pass it down. Let's look at this. This is so beautiful. I'm really, really thankful. These are so they're gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. This fireplace. So yeah, I'm doing the show and tell part. But like I said, if you have any questions, you have any questions, definitely write me. And I don't mind answering those things. Now, I probably won't be able to get through everything that's in here. But I do want to show you. Look at this. This is so sweet. So beautiful. And you're probably going, what's in there? But they're in these satchels. I love satchels. Look at that. They're candles. So I will be using these with my dioramas. I kind of just set my dioramas up. I have two houses. One that my mother gave me and another house, a Rainbow High house that my husband gave me. And I haven't been able to set it up just yet. Because I want to make sure that when I set it up, I don't have any fingers going in it. And also just making sure that we have the space. We have a little one that's using a walker right now and touchy. And I want to make sure that, he's not putting stuff in his mouth. And that he's not going to break anything. I have other little fingers and stuff like that. And these little things are very, it sets off a lot of curiosity for people. So you want to make sure that you put these things up in special places. So that's really where I'm at with it. But I wanted to show you guys today, so that's why I have it right next to me. Look at this. It even has like a little wick. Isn't that awesome? So this was very, 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 very sweet. Try to make sure I put it right back. She had green, blue, green. Yes, I'm that kind of stickler. I want to put it right back the way that it was. And even when I take these out for the dioramas, I'll probably be putting them right back the way that it was given to me. So we're going to close that. You saw my childhood bag, right? You see how I was with that stuff. These cute planters. And this reminds me of the diorama picture that she has. And the diorama and the photo that she has titled Damn. And the her doll character dropped a plant, and we talked about it during the live. She dropped the plant, and I asked her how did she do that, and she said that she used real dirt and that she actually cracked that planter so that it would look realistic, and it did look real. It was so cool. She has an awesome page. I'm pretty sure that you've already subscribed to her page, but if you haven't, check out her page. Very, very cool page. Very, very nice. So this one right here is my chair. I wrapped it back up. Like I said, I'm very particular about things. I don't want it to break, so if something's delicate, I like to wrap it back up. Isn't that cool? It's so nice. I'll let you see what it looks like when she sits in it. Ah, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I just wish I could remember my dog's name right there. That's pretty bad that I don't remember. I know. I need to remember. She gave me these beautiful lamps. I know. It's very nice. It just was so very sweet of her. Just very, very sweet. She made me tear up. This right here, she really, really did. Is a lamp. I'll show you guys right here. So, putting it right back in the bag. And I think, too, the reason why I'm so particular about things is because I moved a whole lot growing up. You could probably already guess it, but I moved a whole lot growing up, and I didn't want to lose my Barbie stuff. My Barbie stuff was very important to me. There was some pillows, and it has filament in it. It is so nice. It has like a nice weight to it. And I was talking to my husband, and he said, oh yeah, he said, that's going to make it easier for you whenever you have your photos. You can, it'll have that nice extra weight, the pillows do, so that they don't move. I was like, wow, but this is so cool, and they feel so nice. They do. They're just like, almost like stress relieving pillows. They feel so good. This was so sweet. But these are all pillows right here. I let my kids fill them. She gave me some books. That's what's in here. Like I said, she loaded me up with little goodies. And I actually have this book Becoming. It may be downstairs. I thought it was up here. But it may be downstairs. In our bookshelf there. And Terry McMillan. Oh yeah, there's some really good books. Some wall art. I tell you, these are just beautiful. There's 3 in each one of these. And it definitely made my day because she gave me a note that says, sending sunshine your way. And it did. It really did send sunshine my way. Last week, well, not really last week, I think it was like the week before. Oh, it was so much going on that week, just emotionally, and then just, we had a kid that had to go to ER, and it was a lot going on that week. I had gallstones issue, then my kidneys started acting up, and I was like, gosh, Lee, like, there's so much going on. So, when this box came, it was just like, wow, completely unexpected. I mean, when she wrote me to tell me, I was like, what? I wasn't expecting it at all. And she had wrote me actually about this guy right here. Isn't he so handsome? I did change out his body, but he is so handsome. I took off the body of one of my other guys. I was like, oh my God. This guy's amazing. He has a wig too. So I have got some storylines for this guy. I was like, oh yeah, he's going to work great. He is just, and he's so handsome. He's got a nose piercing and he has one ear pierce. And he has a beard and the mustache, the goatee. Oh yeah. Be doing some great storylines with him. I think about his character and what I'm doing with him. So yeah, after I get done with these series of pictures that I've already taken, you're going to be seeing him next. Like I said, I like to wrap my stuff back up. Some jewelry and yes, beautiful jewelry, some necklaces. Got a couple of chairs over here, which I will show you guys. And I gotta take it right back up because I don't want to lose it. These chairs are so pretty. There we go. Like I said, you take care of your stuff, Your stuff will take care of you. You put your stuff right back the way that it's supposed to be. You'll have it for many more years to come. So that's what I have learned. Like I said, I used to move a whole lot growing up, and I found that whenever I took care of my things, I would still have it for the next move. So it's some other little things in here, like some more plants. This bookshelf right here. Yes. That is so nice. I'm wrapping it right back up in the bubble wrap. And then this end table. Let me see if I can get it out. Or I guess like what they call it, like a sofa table, a couch table. My mom had one. When I was growing up. She still got it. Isn't it pretty? This is so nice. So I'm really excited to be able to include this with my doll community and the Sacred Para. And that was very, 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 very sweet of her. Just very, she's just sweet, period. So, thank you again, Nisha K. Thank you so much. And, of course, I don't know if I got a chance to show you guys what I got with Barbie paint. So the next time when I'm on here, because I don't always show my goodies, but yes, some Barbie stuff. You guys saw some of this featured before in one of my dioramas, but you guys will be seeing more of this. This came from Barbie Paints, and it came last year, I do believe. Like I said, I don't always show everything because I don't want anyone to ever feel like someone should give to them because I got something, or befriending someone, or to get something. But in the same time, I do want to show my appreciation for the gifts that are given to me, because you don't have to do it at all. And I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. So one of my dolls very close to me will be getting pregnant very, very soon, and I will be using these even more. I thought I was going to have Courtney be pregnant, but I decided not to. She just, she was like, I'm not ready. Like, she kind of just told me, she was like, I'm not ready for that. So I will be going through this box next time when we're together, so you guys can see the beautiful stuff, the beautiful baby stuff that was given to me from Barbie Paints. And this was last year. And so you've already seen one diorama with it, but like I said, after really consulting with my character, Courtney was like, I'm not really ready for all that just yet. So I have someone else that will be doing that. And then right before this live, I was given this beautiful gift right here of coffee. I was not a coffee drinker before I met my husband, but in us being together, I do like coffee now. And I had a little bit of issues getting on to a website, and it was just on my part. Nonetheless, my soul sister, Life and Dahlem, hooked me up with some coffee. You guys have got to go to Mount Hood Roasters. And like I said, it was on my part. I look back, I'm like, oh, I think I know where I kind of messed up at. But you can check out their Instagram. You can talk to her. You can go on their website. Mount Hood Roasters. Such good coffee. We opened this up. The smell was just amazing. And it even has like the smell, the little smell, what do you call that? Like the holes right here. It smells so good. This is Applegate Trail Artisanal Roast. And this is Trillium Trail Dark Roast. I am really excited to be able to try these out and taste these, because I know they're going to be so good. And then she gave us some sample ones for us to try as well. And my note, y'all don't get a chance to read my note. It's my note. But you got Wildwood Trail Medium Roast and Barlow Trail medium roast. I'm really excited. Definitely go to Mount Hood Roasters. You are going to be just really, really astonished with the taste. It's very, very delicious. Like I said before, and I believe I've even shown you guys how my husband and I just like held on to like the last bit of coffee that was in there that we had before. And it's like it never really did get old. I mean, like the taste of it did change, but you could still taste it. It still was very, very flagrant. So you won't be disappointed. You know, she said that they are one of very few coffee houses that air roast their coffee. So you're getting good quality coffee that is delicious. And no, I'm not sponsored. I'm just very excited. So just in case someone's like, she must be getting sponsored. No, it's just that I enjoy the coffee that they have. And she is the one, Life and Gold is the one who actually does the roasting of the coffee. So you are getting good quality coffee that's coming directly from one of our very own, family and sister. She's my soul sister. That's what I said. I can't really say that for you. She's my soul sister. But you're getting someone who comes directly from Instagram, who's doing the roasting and who's very passionate and loves what she does. Like she loves roasting, and you can taste that in the coffee. Check them out. Go to Mount Hood Roasters. You're going to check them out either through Instagram or their website. Talk to her directly. Just very, very good coffee. So I've been on here for a while. Like I said, hi Edna, that's my second oldest birthday today. So I'm going to be actually signing on off. I hope you guys had a good experience with me. I had a great experience with you. If you have any questions, and I thank you so much, Purple Counselor, for the question that you gave. That was an excellent question. If you need me to dive into it further, I don't mind. We can, chat through DM about it. If anyone has any advice, any suggestions that you would also give about the question, and that question was, how do you add a character's voice without buying another doll? Include that in the comments or DM me, or, we can go from there. Any questions about or comments about character-driven storylines, plot-driven storylines, you can contact me on that as well. So I thank you guys again. You guys have an awesome, amazing Saturday, a beautiful weekend. And I'll talk to you and see you next week. Bye, family. Bye-bye.